Every election cycle, they are told, let's unite because we have numbers. I understand that politics is about numbers. Now, let's picture it this way. The Luhya community, that community is the second largest. And also, when you look at numbers, it could be the second largest voting bloc in this country. But usually their leaders talk about their numbers and feel that their numbers must matter. So today, I just want you to understand this. They talk about political unity in Western Kenya is about let's come together so that we have huge numbers to influence who becomes president. You get that? People don't talk about let's unite so that we decide who becomes governor, member of parliament, and all that, because the entire focus is just on the presidency. People just think that once you win the presidency, then it means development will come to your region. That is not one way of thinking well, because when you talk about let's unite so that we elect a president that will favor us, that in itself destroys what Kenya is all about. Kenya should be about managing our affairs fairly. That's what Kenyans want. So political unity is important, but I need to understand this. How come when it comes to an election is when people from Western Kenya, specifically Luhya, talk about unity, that let's unite? After an election, nobody talks about unity around development, unity around research and development, unity around innovation. That's where there's a mistake. It is difficult to unite people if you don't talk about development, because in my understanding, the only thing that can unite people is development.
Sababu viongozi ambao tuko nao wakipata nafasi wanaweka tumbo zao mbele, wanasahau mambo yao. Every year tukipoteza kusimamisha urais, jamii yetu wanateremka chini kiwango. Every party yenye haisimamishi rais inaangukanga chini.
Miezi miwili peke yake tulikuwa tumeanza kupanga safari ya 2027, and he was very clear that Western will have a presidential candidate come 2027.
By people sharing a cultural identity and having problems that are personal, it becomes difficult for you to unite people. The easiest way to unite people is economic unity. If you bring economic unity, where people unite to solve their economic problems, then it becomes easier for people to unite even culturally. That talk around unity, Luhya unity, it is something that we all know that it is so prominent when it comes to an election. And today, if you went to Western Kenya, you will hear politicians talking about Luhyas, let's unite, let's unite, let's unite, let's unite. But after an election, that talk around unity is diminished. That is the point, because there's nothing that is so strong to bring these people together. If there's development, people will unite. So as much as there's talk in Western Kenya around unity, I want you to understand this. Look at Western Kenya, for instance, in terms of development. What is the economic mainstay of that region? What is it that these people are doing to a level they are saying we are growing economically across Western Kenya? When you talk about Vihiga, Busia, Trans Nzoia, Bungoma, and Kakamega, the conversation is about Luhya community. So across that region, when you look at it that way, what is happening there economically? It is subsistence farming. I know people have been doing some cash crop farming. That is, people have been growing cane, or sugar cane. Apart from that, what else comes from that region? I am not trying to mock a region, but I am just trying to highlight an issue. At least if you went to a region like Central Kenya, you'll talk about dairy farming, you'll talk about coffee farming, you'll talk about tea farming, you'll talk about entrepreneurship. But when you go to Western Kenya, is there any cooperative or circle that has been grown in Western Kenya and today it has a national outlook? It's not there. It is because the conversation people have is always about our numbers and our unity. After that, people don't talk about development. That's why the region is dying economically. I understand that people always blame the national government and feel that they have been isolated, without also appreciating the fact that the government does not have to do everything, that the government is not the one that should always build industries in a region. If you work on yourselves economically, people will invest in an industry without necessarily having the government's influence directly. So that is it. So what is happening in Western Kenya? People just think that the only way the region can develop is by choosing who becomes president, because they think once you have president, then this president is gonna solve our problems. This president is not gonna solve the problem around the mindset of the people. This president is not going to force you to stop doing subsistence farming. That is something that you should start by yourselves, where you organize yourselves without necessarily looking at the president. This president will not tell you that you need to at least look at other things to do to empower yourself economically. Those are decisions that people should just make without talking about the presidency all the time. Also, this kind of thinking where people feel that it is only the president that can develop this country is myopic. I find it myopic because other developed nations, they do not become what they are because of who became president. Some of these countries, they are what they are because of innovation that came from ordinary citizens. That's what you need to understand. So when Western Kenya talks about ethnic unity or political unity so that they influence who becomes president in 2027 and feel that that is what will make the region grow, that is myopic. What will make the region grow or develop, it is people changing their mindset and knowing that they're supposed to do something innovative, or they're supposed to come up with innovative ideas that can grow the economy of that region. I don't have a problem with this. Let me say it. If you went to every town in Western Kenya, then ask yourself, for locals, what are they bringing in? You'd find that they're not even local investors. In terms of majority, they're not. You'll find these other people from other regions, which is very okay. So ask yourself, did people from other regions go there because they just wanted? No, they saw an opportunity that locals did not see. So if you did not see an opportunity and someone sees an opportunity, and then later you start complaining that people have taken over. Nobody has taken over. So when people continue talking about Luhya unity, for me, I usually dismiss it because the unity they talk about is influencing a democratic process that we elect someone to develop our region. So in that case, what are you going to do? You just elect and sit down and expect the president to develop the region without your own investment, without your own local investments, without changing the mindset of the people, without addressing issues around agriculture, because Western Kenya considers agriculture as its economic backbone. And this agriculture they consider the backbone of the economy is subsistence farming in the 21st century. So the leadership of Western Kenya has failed to address critical issues. Instead, people just come out here and talk about our numbers without focusing on the real conversation where people talk about what are our people doing? How can we empower our people? Why are our people not innovative? That's the conversation people should be having, and these other things will just fall in place. Without an economic influence or contribution, I know every region has an economic contribution to the GDP of Kenya, but the region that considers it the largest in terms of population should actually play a key role in growing the Kenyan economy. It should not just be about the population. It should be about the contribution to growing the Kenyan economy. That is it. We need entrepreneurial or innovative ideas to come from Western Kenya. We need research and development to give us more innovative ideas. that can push Kenya to the next level. But people talking about just unity, who becomes president and all that, and later you go back and sit and focus on your subsistence farming, and later you start blaming others and say that we were not given this position or that position. That is a myopic way of looking at things. So I think as much as people feel that the conversation around Luhya unity is fine, people should also ask a simple question. Why don't we talk about unity around economic development, where we challenge our own people and ask, how come we are not innovative? How come we are just focused on subsistence farming? How come we have huge tracts of land, but what we produce in terms of agricultural output is not something that can influence or impact so positively the Kenyan economy? That's the conversation people should have. They talk around just Luhya unity so that we influence who becomes president. To me, doesn't really make sense. But what can make sense is people uniting for development. When people unite for development, then it becomes easy for people even to unite for political reasons. Always keep it here on Owen Raw Podcast.